My sister faked having terminal cancer for 2 years, accepting donations and support. I found evidence and exposed her lie at a family gathering. Now our family is divided and blaming me for the fallout. I never thought I'd be writing this post, but I'm at my wit's end and could use some outside perspective. For context, I, 28F, have an older sister, let's call her Emma, 32F. We've never been particularly close, but we've always maintained a cordial relationship. Emma has always been the more dramatic one in the family, prone to exaggeration and attention-seeking behavior. However, what she did this time goes beyond anything I could have imagined. 2 years ago, Emma announced to our family that she had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The news devastated us all. Our parents were inconsolable, and the entire extended family rallied around her. I was shocked and heartbroken, immediately offering my support in any way I could. Over the next 2 years, Emma became the center of our family's universe. Our parents put their lives on hold to care for her. They drained their retirement savings to pay for what they believed were experimental treatments not covered by insurance. Relatives flew in from across the country to spend time with her. Friends organized fundraisers and meal trains. Even I, despite our past differences, spent countless hours by her bedside, listening to her fears and trying to comfort her. Emma documented her journey extensively on social media. She shared photos of herself in hospital gowns, with IVs in her arm, and eventually wearing headscarves to cover her supposed hair loss from chemo. The outpouring of support was overwhelming. People from all over the world sent messages of encouragement, donations poured in, and she even got featured in a local news story about her brave battle with cancer. I had my suspicions from the beginning. Something about the whole situation felt off, but I chalked it up to my own denial. After all, who would lie about something like this? Whenever I expressed any doubt, I was quickly shut down by family members who accused me of being unsupportive and jealous of the attention Emma was receiving. But as time went on, the inconsistencies became harder to ignore. Emma never seemed to get sicker. Her chemo sessions were always conveniently scheduled when no one could accompany her. She was vague about her doctors and treatments, always changing the subject when pressed for details. The turning point came last month. I was helping Emma clean her apartment when I accidentally knocked over her purse. As I was picking up the spilled contents, I found a makeup compact. Inside, instead of powder, there was a collection of small, neatly cut swatches of her own hair. That's when everything clicked into place. I spent the next week in a daze, grappling with the implications of what I'd discovered. I couldn't believe my own sister would do something so cruel, so manipulative. I was angry, not just for myself, but for our parents who had sacrificed so much, for all the people who had donated money and time to support her. I knew I had to expose the truth, but I was terrified of the fallout. Eventually, I decided that I couldn't let this lie continue. I gathered as much evidence as I could, inconsistencies in her stories, photos that didn't add up, and records of her activities that contradicted her claimed hospital stays. Our annual family reunion was coming up, and I decided that would be the moment to reveal everything. In hindsight, maybe a private conversation would have been better, but I was so angry and hurt that I wasn't thinking clearly. The reunion started like any other, with Emma playing the role of the brave cancer warrior. As everyone fawned over her, telling her how strong she was and how good she looked, I felt my anger building. Finally, after dinner, when everyone was gathered in the living room, I stood up and said I had an announcement to make. With shaking hands, I presented all the evidence I had gathered. I explained about the hair I had found, showed timeline inconsistencies, and pointed out how her supposed symptoms never aligned with typical pancreatic cancer progression. As I spoke, the room fell into a shocked silence. Emma's reaction was explosive. She burst into tears, screaming that I was lying, that I had always been jealous of her. Our parents looked shell-shocked, unable to process what they were hearing. Some relatives started yelling at me, accusing me of making up lies about my sick sister. But as the initial shock wore off, and people began to really look at the evidence, the mood in the room shifted. Emma's story began to unravel as people started asking questions she couldn't answer. Finally, cornered by the mounting evidence and the growing suspicion in the room, Emma broke down and confessed. The aftermath was chaos. Our parents were devastated, torn between anger at Emma's deception and guilt over not believing me sooner. Some family members were furious at Emma, while others were angry at me for exposing the lie so publicly. Emma fled the house in tears, and no one has heard from her since. In the weeks that followed, our family has been torn apart. Our parents are barely speaking, each blaming the other for not seeing the signs. Emma has cut off contact with everyone, refusing to answer calls or messages. The extended family is divided, with some supporting me for exposing the truth, while others blame me for destroying the family. The fallout hasn't been limited to our family. As news of Emma's deception spread, there's been a huge backlash online. People who donated money are furious, and there's talk of potential legal action. The local news station that ran her story did a follow-up piece on cancer faking, further humiliating our family. I stand by my decision to expose the lie, but I'm struggling with the consequences. On one hand, I know it was the right thing to do. The deception was hurting so many people, and it would have only gotten worse the longer it went on. I think about all the people who donated money they couldn't afford, thinking they were helping someone in need. I think about our parents, who put their entire lives on hold for 2 years. I think about actual cancer patients who might face increased skepticism because of stories like this. But on the other hand, I can't help but feel guilty about the way everything has fallen apart. Our once close-knit family is in shambles. Our parents, who should be enjoying their retirement, are now stressed and bitter. Emma, despite her terrible actions, is my sister, and I worry about her mental state and what drove her to do this. I'm also grappling with my own complex emotions. There's anger at Emma for her deception, frustration with my family for not believing me sooner, and a deep sadness for the relationships that may be permanently damaged. I find myself lying awake at night, wondering if there was a better way I could have handled this. Some of my friends have suggested that I should have confronted Emma privately first, given her a chance to come clean on her own terms. Others say I did the right thing by exposing her publicly, ensuring that everyone affected by her lie learned the truth simultaneously. I honestly don't know what the right answer is. I'm also struggling with trust issues now. If my own sister could maintain such an elaborate lie for 2 years, who else in my life might be deceiving me? It's made me question every relationship, every story I've been told. The whole situation has taken a toll on my mental health. I've started seeing a therapist to help process everything, but it's a slow journey. Some days, I feel strong in my conviction that I did the right thing. Other days, I'm overwhelmed with guilt and second-guessing every decision I made. I've tried to reach out to Emma, hoping to understand why she did this and maybe start some kind of healing process. But she's ignored all my attempts at contact. Part of me is angry that she's not taking responsibility for her actions, but another part worries about her well-being. Our parents are trying to mediate, but they're struggling with their own feelings of betrayal and guilt. They've suggested family therapy, but so far, Emma has refused to participate. I'm willing to try, but I don't know how we can move forward without her engagement. I'm at a loss for what to do next. How do I start rebuilding these broken relationships? How do I deal with the ongoing fallout in our community? How do I process my own conflicting emotions about the whole situation? I know this is a complex situation with no easy answers, but I could really use some outside perspective. Am I the asshole for exposing my sister's lie so publicly? Should I have handled it differently? How do I move forward from here? For those who have dealt with family betrayals or public scandals, how did you cope? Any advice on rebuilding trust or dealing with the emotional aftermath would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for reading this far. Writing it all out has been cathartic in a way, but it's also made me realize just how messy and complicated this situation is. I'll try to respond to comments and answer any questions. Maybe talking it through will help me gain some clarity. Edit 1. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up like it did. Thank you all for your thoughtful responses and support. It means more than you know. I'm trying to read through all the comments and will respond to as many as I can. To address some common questions/comments. 1. Yes, I've considered the possibility that Emma might have factitious disorder, formerly known as Munchausen syndrome. I've brought this up with our parents and suggested that she might need professional help. However, we can't force her into treatment if she's not willing. 2. For those asking about legal implications, there's been talk of a class action lawsuit from people who donated money. Our family lawyer has advised us all to avoid making any public statements for now. 3. Many of you have suggested family therapy, and I agree it could be helpful. The challenge is getting everyone, especially Emma, to agree to participate. 4. To those sharing similar stories, thank you. It helps to know I'm not alone in dealing with family deception, even if the details are different. 5. For those curious about my own well-being, I'm hanging in there. My therapist has been a great help, and I'm focusing on self-care as much as I can. I'm still processing all of your advice and insights. This isn't a situation that will be resolved overnight, but you've all given me a lot to think about. I'll post an update if there are any significant developments. Again, thank you all. Your support and perspectives mean more than you know. Edit 2. A quick update as this post continues to gain traction. Emma finally reached out via email last night. She's agreed to meet with me and our parents next week with a mediator present. I'm nervous but hopeful that this might be a first step towards understanding and healing. I'll post a full update after the meeting. Thank you all again for your support and advice during this difficult time. It's been about a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It's been incredibly helpful during this challenging time. As I mentioned in my last edit, Emma agreed to meet with me and our parents. That meeting happened, and it was intense. We met at a neutral location, a private room in a local community center, with a professional mediator present. Walking into that room was one of the hardest things I've ever done. The tension was palpable. Emma looked terrible. It was clear she hadn't been taking care of herself. She was pale, had lost weight, and her eyes were sunken with dark circles. Part of me felt sorry for her, while another part was still angry at all the pain she'd caused. The mediator started by laying down ground rules: no interrupting, no yelling, and everyone gets a chance to speak. Then, she asked Emma to explain her actions. What followed was a 3-hour emotional roller coaster. Emma broke down almost immediately, sobbing as she tried to explain herself. The story that emerged was complicated and heartbreaking. Apparently, Emma had been struggling with severe depression and feelings of worthlessness for years, but had hidden it from everyone. She said she felt overshadowed by my achievements, which was news to me. I always thought our parents favored her, and felt like she had no real purpose in life. The cancer lie started small. She had a health scare that turned out to be nothing, but the attention and concern she received during that time made her feel valued for the first time in years. So she let people believe it was worse than it was. And then it snowballed from there. She admitted that she never intended for it to go as far as it did, but she felt trapped by her own lie. The more support and love she received, the harder it became to tell the truth. She said she knew it was wrong, but she didn't know how to stop. Our parents were devastated. Mom couldn't stop crying, and Dad just sat there, looking shell-shocked. They both expressed guilt for not realizing how much Emma was struggling, and for potentially contributing to her feelings of inadequacy. When it was my turn to speak, I was surprised by the flood of emotions. I told Emma how hurt and betrayed I felt, how her lie had affected my ability to trust others. But I also admitted that I felt guilty for not seeing her pain earlier, for not being a better sister. The mediator was crucial in keeping the conversation productive. She helped us express our feelings without attacking each other and guided us towards discussing how to move forward. By the end of the session, we were all emotionally exhausted, but there was also a sense of catharsis. We agreed on a few next steps. 1. Emma will continue with intensive therapy. She's been diagnosed with depression and is starting medication. 2. We'll continue family therapy sessions to work on our communication and rebuild trust. 3. Emma will write a public apology and work with a lawyer to figure out how to return the donations she received. 4. Our parents are also going to start therapy to work through their feelings of guilt and learn how to better support both of us. 5. I've agreed to have weekly coffee meetups with Emma to rebuild our relationship, with the understanding that it will take time and effort from both of us. It's been 2 weeks since that meeting, and things are cautiously improving. Emma is taking her therapy seriously and seems committed to making amends. She published her public apology, which was met with mixed reactions online. Some people were understanding, others remained angry, but at least the truth is out there. Our parents are struggling but trying. They're working with their therapist to understand how their parenting might have contributed to this situation and how to move forward. It's painful to watch them grapple with this, but I hope it will lead to healthier family dynamics in the long run. As for me, I'm continuing with my own therapy and trying to process everything. I'm still angry and hurt, but I'm also allowing myself to feel compassion for Emma. Mental health issues can drive people to do unthinkable things, and while it doesn't excuse her actions, it helps me understand them better. Our first few coffee meetups have been awkward but not hostile. We're taking it slow, talking about neutral topics, and gradually working our way towards deeper conversations. It's strange, in some ways, I feel like I'm getting to know my sister for the first time. The extended family is still divided, but most have adopted a wait-and-see approach. A few have reached out to offer support, which has been nice. There's still a long road ahead of us. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. But I'm cautiously optimistic. If nothing else, this experience has forced us all to confront some hard truths and work on ourselves. I want to thank this community again for all your support and advice. It really helped me navigate this difficult situation. For those who shared similar experiences, thank you. It helped more than you know to realize I wasn't alone in dealing with family deception. I may post another update down the line if there are significant developments. For now, we're taking it one day at a time, focusing on healing and learning to communicate better as a family. Thank you all again. Your support has meant the world to me during this challenging time. Edit, thank you all for the continued support and kind words. To address a few common questions. 1. Yes, there are still ongoing legal issues regarding the donations. Emma is working with a lawyer to handle this properly. 2. Emma's treatment is progressing, but it's a journey. She's committed to it, which is the most important thing right now. 3. Our parents are doing better. The therapy is helping them process their emotions and improve their communication with both of us. 4. To those asking about my own healing, it's a process. Some days are better than others, but overall, I'm doing okay. My own therapist has been invaluable. 5. For those concerned about me being manipulated again, I appreciate your worry. I'm proceeding with caution and maintaining strong boundaries. Trust will have to be earned over time.